Welcome to the Beauties Podcast, where we talk about everything you need to know about women's sports. From the grassroots to the pros, we got it all. Today on the show, we talk about Title IX and how it positively affects women's sports and what still needs to be done. Here are your hosts, Addie and Cowie.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Beauties Sports Desk. It is a beautiful day outside, and we are right in the middle of Title IX waves through social media. It has been fantastic to see and watch. What have you been looking at on social media there, Cowie, on Title IX?
Yeah, it is everywhere. I mean, we've briefly touched on Title IX in the past. I think my actual comments were, we're not going to dive into this too much. And then 2 weeks later, to celebrate 50 years since the implementation of Title IX, it is all you can find on social media these days.
It almost seemed weird for us to show up today and not talk about it. Do you know what I mean? Like it's actually everywhere.
Yeah. Can we, let's have a pause before we dig into Title IX on the fact that last week's episode, you guys absolutely loved. We packed up the lights and the mics and the roadcaster. We took it on the road, which was a good
dusty
test.
trail.
Yeah, it was a good test for us. And appreciate all of you who, if that was your first episode, I'm glad it was, because that was a fun one to have Jamie and Lana. So again, super thankful to them and thankful to you guys for giving us some love on what we thought might be an adventure. It was, but it turned out all right.
It was awesome. And, it was fun setting up and getting the lights going and doing all that stuff in a hotel room and just making it work.
Yeah, we really quickly realized that it is nice to be here because everything just sits here. And so it's nice to just turn the lights on and press go every week. There's some things that we need to do to perfect being able to take that stuff on the road for sure.
Yep.
Hotels aren't necessarily the best place for that, but we made it work, which is kind of the story of our week.
So a little background. So we're getting everything set up and we're kind of looking at all the different, the sound and where it's going to bounce off of. And then next thing you know, I shift my weight in the chair. Scream! I'm like, okay, perfect. I'm going to have to be still for 2 hours.
Yeah.
No moving.
Yeah, we had microphones. At one point, we had microphone propped. They were propped inside of the drawers of a dresser on boxes. Because I'm short. I don't know if I look tall here to you folks. If you do watch the clips we put on Instagram or if you watch us on YouTube, I am not tall. Yeah. And it was very evident when we were parked on a couch in our hotel and we didn't have a table. We had this kind of, I don't know what you call that.
And like a half dresser, half...
It's taller than a desk. And so when I sat, the microphone was at my forehead. I was like, cool. I feel like I'm a 6-year-old.
Yeah, totally.
Can I do the ride, Mom?
Yeah, it was definitely a learning curve for sure. And it was so cool that I think the part was the response that we got from people just based off true, genuine content of parents that are legit going through their major sporting for youth right now and what they view for their daughters in the future. I think the authenticity of that episode was it just shined through.
Yeah, totally. And FYI for Jamie O'Brien, for those of you who know Jamie O'Brien, she was very sheepish when I said, you were an athlete, Jamie?
Yeah.
And she, gave some answer I think I remember those days.
I ran around a track a couple times.
Yeah. We got a message from Jamie O'Brien's sister on Instagram, who very much says that Jamie was an athlete. She was a star athlete, which is no shock. She's super competitive now, which we love to see. She's passing that on to her daughter, Casey, along with her husband, Sean. So we see you, Jamie. We know you're an athlete, girl.
We see. And that's cool, learning about parents and their background in sport too, because you can see competitive nature a mile away. And
without a doubt. That's why when she said no, I was like, I'm not going to call your bluff right now, but
we'll find out.
Bluff. Yeah.
We'll find out.
Exactly.
That was awesome. Yeah. So thank you so much for you guys for jumping on with us. Literally last second.
Oh yeah, they had 10 minutes of notice, folks.
Yeah,
we had a plan and then we changed our plan, which was also very Addie and I.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Hey, what do you think about texting them at 10 p.m.?
You sleeping?
Yeah. Turns out they weren't, and turns out they were open to coming on the pod. So.
Absolutely love it.
Yep.
Absolutely love it.
Okay,
Yeah, that was
back
super
to-
fun.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure we touch on that off the hop because I
Yes.
think we're going to try and do more of that. Addie and I, we do some traveling together, coaching and different things. But also just the fact that it's really nice. That was my takeaway. It is nice not to see someone through a screen.
Yeah.
Not to have that little delay in communication, to be able to sit on a couch with someone opens up a world of opportunities for us when it comes to, live sporting events. And I'm not talking NBA or WNBA, LPGA. I'm talking like something happening locally in this province, or getting on the road to a U Sports game in Regina, like whatever that opportunity is. I think that was the most exciting thing, is that we can take this shit on the road.
Yeah. We can, where you want us, we can go. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very cool. So yeah, if you have any thoughts, ideas, reach out to us, because it was super fun.
Mm-hmm. It was fun.
Alrighty. So looking into Title IX, shifting right into it, because we did like a couple episodes be like, we're not going to dive into it, but we have to. We have to.
Yep.
I think so.
Fair.
Title IX was huge, and it was implemented in 1972.
Mm-hmm.
And there's that documentary out that's like 37 words, right? Because it collectively is 37 words that allows equality in sport, essentially, right? The thing that blew my mind when I got into it, sorry, what are you thinking?
I was just going to say, it's the most impactful run-on sentence I've ever seen. That's a bad joke.
Yeah.
But it is. It's a very bad run-on sentence.
I was just going to sneak in.
A really bad joke.
I love it.
Anyways.
You're correct. That's amazing. That is amazing. What was I going to say? Now I'm literally sitting here reading the thing, being like, "Yeah, that's freaking hilarious."
I'm sorry. It was you were going with. It was designed to offer equality. It
Right.
wasn't really sport specific.
It wasn't.
Honestly.
Yeah,
it was just gender equality.
And that's what I was going to say. The part that blew my mind about the whole thing is that the fact that we, as women, can get scholarships now is because of the word activity in it.
Yep. Exactly.
What?
Yeah. So it
How
was
mind-blowing is that?
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I was mentioning a couple episodes ago. For those of you who listened to that episode, I was talking about it from it was largely a lot of, I think there's a whole section of Title IX that was specific to education and equality and then they took that whole phys ed spin. It was not designed in a way that was athletics specific, although the only place that I've ever heard about Title IX in my lifetime and my experiences is specific to athletics, which the irony of the fact that is only encompassed by a single word of those 37 words is activity is mind-blowing.
It's absolute insanity. And I've just went through a rabbit hole last night of just everything Title IX, Billie Jean King talking about it, all these incredible women that talked about it and were a part of that whole process being passed. Like Billie Jean King, I can't remember the two men that she was in kind of that tennis world with, but literally at the exact same time as she was competing in university, two men were competing in the same university and one close by on full rides.
Yep.
And she had to work two jobs. She had all that stuff kind of going. So then it was like she finally got to, take advantage of the fact that, they could offer scholarships to women. But I could not believe, because going off what you're saying, I thought that it was all about athletics.
No.
Because that's our world, right? And that it was, this was put into place to create equality in athletics. And it literally is almost the opposite. And the only way we were able to kind of sneak that in is through the word activity.
Yep.
That absolutely blows my mind. If you think of how many women after that have been able to receive scholarships and pursue what they would love to pursue in university, if that word wasn't in there,
It's entirely different.
we are living in a completely different world. That blows my mind.
Yeah, I saw something. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Title IX, it is very easy to be well informed of Title IX just by searching in YouTube.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really good content in there, video content in there of people breaking down what the meaning of Title IX is and where it originated. And one of the things that you'll likely stumble across is there is a TEDx, it's a couple years old now, talk. I can't remember the woman's name off the top of my head right now, but she essentially was talking about, so she was a rower. And one of the stats that she put on the screen in her presentation was before Title IX, 1 in 27 girls participated in sports, and less than 7% of medical professionals, like people in med school, doctors were women, and less than 9% of lawyers were women. And so that's the impact that Title IX had, not only on allowing people to have scholarships and pursue athletics in university, but it goes back to that conversation of leaders in C-suite jobs being athletes. It's a domino effect that was created by allowing women to pursue athletics in university, become university educated, pursue a next level job. The things that they learned in sport have statistically and by research been, basically are correlated to the fact that they then are more successful in achieving these high level leadership jobs because they've had the experiences of all of those things that you learn through sport that they translate into life.
How unbelievable. And I'm pretty sure we dove into that pretty heavy, 2 to 3 episodes ago, because when we talk about that word compete and we talk about those things, what we want to teach young women, these women were legitimately getting into these high level athletic positions once they got into university. And in such a short time, we're able to implement those in high stake professions. It's so fascinating to me how sports is truly integrated with life.
Yeah. And it is really cool. So on this 50th anniversary, obviously there's content everywhere. And one of the stories that I saw was a woman who was part of a club team of university athletics. And then Title IX was implemented right in the middle of her college career, which gave her an opportunity to transfer schools to have funding to pursue the sport and to pursue her education. I can't imagine, if you think about living through that, 1972, it was June 22nd, 1972, I think, or June.
I'm trying to look it up as you're speaking. June 23rd, 1972.
June 23rd, 1972. To live through that, to be an athlete, to be one of those 1 in 27 girls, and then all of a sudden this incredible opportunity of pursuing college athletics opens up, and to receive funding to chase that dream versus being Billie Jean King working 2 jobs.
Yeah. And the amazing part about it is that she said when they were competing at their universities, they were all in the same spot. Like the 2 men were competing and then she was competing and working 2 jobs, and they ended up winning the same majors that year.
No kidding.
And all through the 2 guys, and then Billie Jean King won everything. So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Talking about having to work 10 times harder. You know what I mean? What an absolute beast. Absolute beast. But there has been a very interesting conversation online of Title IX in the way of, I think it's really starting to spark in some ways and I want to make sure that I'm saying this the right way, because Title IX literally changed the course single-handedly for female athletes, not even just in sport, but in life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was a huge deal.
Yeah, it is a huge deal. Yep.
And there's a lot of people that are saying, though, it's been 50 years.
Yeah, when you put that into context, right, of the fact that it's been 50 years, and yes, we want to make sure the first thing that we do is give all the credit to the fact that there has been progress. We know
100%.
We've recognized that on this podcast many, many times. But to think that we are still where we are 50 years later, where women, and now again, it's this resurgence of this collective voice of women who are stepping up and pushing for more equality in terms of that, 4% of media coverage being on women's sports and all of these things, the investments and all of that stuff. It is in a way when you sit back and think, man, that why not further?
What? Yeah. And it's, there are so many different, because you look at it from the perspective of where we went through our athletic careers and now we're pursuing this, and you see all the drive and all the passion and all the dedication that didn't start now. That's been, that's been everybody for, since they started to realize it, and I've got a, good quote here from Billie Jean King, essentially saying, bottom line, Title IX has been an incredibly important piece of legislation that has undoubtedly changed millions of lives. But even 50 years later, there's still so far to go. We cannot continue. Well, she goes on this whole thing, so I'm kind of paraphrasing now. And she's like, we've focused so much of our time and dedication on essentially suburban white women that we really need to now get out of that. And we need to, this isn't race. It's not anything other than we need girls knowing about a life in sport. We need to start educating youth. We need to start educating, and we talk about that constantly. The conversations we have with girls 10 and under has to start being a main focus so they believe and understand and know what is truly available for them as we move forward. Because I believe one of the reasons it's gone so slow is because the conversations have not caught up. And male organizations are given a little bit more leeway in creating cultures, identities.
Yeah.
There is no reason why we should have two failed female hockey leagues. When it's the Olympics, it's the highest watched sport.
Yeah.
But for some reason, we can't sustain a league. Where do you think those women are playing when it's not the Olympics?
Yeah, I know.
You can have that hockey all year round.
Yep.
The fact that women's softball has the Women's World Series every year. It's one of the biggest events of the year. You're pulling in thousands and thousands of fans, but we don't have a league. I know AU is starting to really push that page and all those different things, but it's what are we missing here?
Yeah, so the other TEDx, you can tell I'm a TEDx fan. The other thing that you should look up is Haley Rosen speaking from Just Women's Sports. She's CEO of Just Women's Sports. And I think she said that really well. And that somewhat ties back into this Title IX conversation of, yes, we need women's sports on TV more. 4% is clearly not enough.
Yeah.
Yes, we need more investments. Two things, but I'm going to start with the investment piece because she made a good point that we have this expectation of women's sports to make millions and billions of dollars. It's projected to be a $200 billion industry in the next 10 years. But the expectation that we have is that it's going to be instantaneously profitable. And so there's a lack of investment based on this perception or this drive that you need to see a return on your investment instantly.
Yeah.
Where she gives examples of the MLS and other things who had to build. We gave more rope for the equivalent men's leagues to build the culture and the environment and the fan base. And as investors, we're willing to take that loss, knowing that it's profitable in the long run. And what we've done with women's sports is, and I say we just as a we collective of people investing in these sports, is that the forgiveness they have historically given male sports, they have given a tenth of that to women's. And so why do we see things fail is because that expectation from an investment perspective is that it needs to make me a shitload of money right now. Freaking now.
Yeah. And when you look at, everybody looks at super huge, iconic brands like the Montreal Canadiens and New York Jets, like huge iconic brands like that, and go, oh, well, you want to get in. And it's like, yeah, because they've been it's 100 years old. You know, it's such an unrealistic conversation, and they're not talking about it the right way. Because even when you look at the National Women's Soccer League with the Kansas City Current, that is one of the biggest steps in the right direction. When you talk about a positive impact and investment towards a club, it is the first privately owned facility for those women.
Yes. Yeah, I know.
I guarantee you, by them being patient, doing it the right way, making these women feel like they are number one by giving them their own house, the Kansas City Current will be one of the best teams in the next 5 years. But, you know, but that's what they're thinking. That's what they're believing. That's what they're understanding, is that we're doing this now because we will win in 4 to 5 years.
Yeah.
Because we're taking care of you.
Yes. And giving them, it's so much more than just this. Like, people think of the home as an established home for the season. It's so much more beyond that, right?
Totally.
You want these athletes to be able to call Kansas City home. And the way that they are allowed to call Kansas City home is if you give them the tools that in the off season, the time when they are not playing soccer, that they have the ability to train, and this community and culture is created. And I think we miss a lot of that. We're in borrowed, I say it a lot, we're on borrowed resources. Right? We're expected to grow the culture and fan base and participation and all of these things on borrowed resources. We get the secondhand slots of time on fields. We have professional leagues playing in high school. We invest more in high school athletics. This is the U.S. specifically. But there's high schools who have better fields and better infrastructure than professional women's leagues. So they borrow the resource.
Yeah. 100%. And the Seattle Storm also did a really good job in making that facility their home too. So it's very interesting in that. But with Haley Rosen too, with her talk, she also does talk about that marketing piece of the whole thing. We need to, and you know, we've talked about this 1,000 times, is change the conversation, change it. Yep. We do not need to. Why are we not talking about these women like athletes?
Yeah. LPGA just put out today on Instagram, why should people watch? And all of the athletes as they walk by were like, why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you?
We're the best players in the world.
Yeah.
Like, and I agree. When that was my direction to you, is spend your 8 minutes ads because it's worth it to watch. And you came away with the exact same thing. Yeah, it's the same thing that we've been talking about. This whole marketing piece, and she positions it as the one thing, you know, they talk about investment, they talk about airtime. But the marketing piece is exactly what we've been saying. Change the conversation. We are not a charity.
Yeah. Yeah. No, these women are professional athletes, and they should be treated as such. And what I enjoy about that is not every athlete performs at the top every single time. And that conversation needs to be had. When we get on here and we're talking about, you know, sports and leagues and all these different things, we have not always been positive. And to me, that is a really positive thing for us to be able to jump on and talk about the WNBA. And, you know, because of coaching changes, you know, like when you look at the difference between Las Vegas last year and Las Vegas this year with Becky Hammon, the investment was clearly worth it because she came in, she made an impact. And we talked about her coming from the NBA to the WNBA. And it's like, discussion about women does not always have to be sunshine and rainbows. Sometimes women go out and they suck, but they're pro athletes. That happens. They're expected to be on their game all the time. That's not how the real world works. And we should be, well, you know, Nelly Corda, we didn't see her win a tournament for the first half of the year, and now she came back and won that, you know, like, those conversations are positive to have, and they make the athlete more real. Do you do you know what I mean by that? Like we're not only talking about athletes when they're winning. We're talking about athletes when they're losing as well. And that makes it real and authentic.
Yeah. And I agree with you. We just are doing a disservice to, and part of it to the shame of it that I struggle with, I guess, the most is when we talk about changing marketing and changing messaging. I think you can naturally be critical of the way that female athletes have to invest their time to continue to be successful. Where if we want to change the conversation, it then largely at the professional level goes back to that investment and airtime, because you can't control marketing. You can't control the narrative when women are having to sell themselves as professional athletes.
Yeah.
If we allow them to be professional athletes, control the messaging and give them the resources they need, then we get rid of some of this, let's quote unquote, here air quotes for those of you who are listening, the charity feel of the fact that we should watch women's sports because we feel bad in some way.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're moms and they're like in all of these messages. Yeah. It's like they're athletes.
They're athletes.
Yeah. They're athletes, period.
Yeah. And we've talked about that multiple hats. Like one references we use all the time is Hillary Knight.
Yeah.
Hillary Knight has to be a pro hockey player, ambassador, a spokesperson. She has to wear all these different hats to be the athlete.
Yeah.
Just let her be the athlete.
To support herself as the athlete.
You know what I mean? So it's like, let's just let these women be athletes and watch them because they're amazing.
They are.
They are amazing. They are. And when the LPGA does a great job of like, they do the sound of the tee off for the first round and stuff, like those women are so good. And every time I'm like, damn it. Yeah, I wish I could hit them all.
Exactly. One of them when they were walking by today of why should you watch the LPGA, and all they said was bombs.
Yeah.
I was like, not wrong.
Yeah.
Not wrong.
Because we also have another huge event of the WNBA All Star coming up here too. And I think that they've done a really good job of allowing these women to be athletes. I know there's the big controversy with Brittany Griner having to go overseas in Russia. And I think that has sparked a lot of conversation when it comes to, these women's income in the WNBA.
Oh yeah.
I think that is going to change drastically in the next couple of years for sure. But they announced like the thing that I like and what's unique to the situation right now is there's two legends in the league that are retiring this year.
Yeah.
In Sue Bird and Sylvia Fowles. And the thing that I love is that they're doing it. They're doing it like they would any like a pro league should.
Yeah.
They're on their farewell tour. They're on their celebrity tour. You know what I mean? Like everywhere they go, they're getting jackets and thank yous. And
the Liberty made the Sue t-shirts.
Right?
I love that.
And then I was watching the Lynx play last night and they have shirts and I was like, I need one of those. It says Sylvia frickin' Fowles.
That's so good.
I was like, that is amazing.
Hey, let's shout out Dick's Sporting Goods. So we went to, this is WNBA related. So we went to Minneapolis, which we all know by now. And Cowie forgot to pack a sweater because I checked the weather and it was supposed to be very hot, but it also gets very cool at night when the sun goes away. So, whoops. So we strolled across the street from our hotel to a Dick's Sporting Goods, which was awesome. So we're, perusing the shelves, and then all of a sudden we see this WNBA shelf where Addie finally got her orange WNBA hoodie that she's been talking about for years at this point.
Yes, I got it.
But how fun. That has not happened to us yet. So I so appreciated. We went to a restaurant. There was a local restaurant that we were in, and they had the Lynx were part of all of the sports teams that were written on the walls. So that made my heart sing a lot, just to know that there is recognition in that country, although it was a singular shelf or a singular rack amongst all the racks.
All the racks.
And a lot of it was largely focused on youth. So there's no chance I'm squeezing in one. You could, but there is no chance I was going to. So room to go. But I thought that was awesome.
We both just took a second and like literally were like, this is
a good thing.
This is cool. This is a good thing. And then because we're so used to walking into places and not seeing the female team.
Yep.
So to see that not only was the female team on there, that it was literally the exact same. It was embraced on that wall, the exact same as all the other sports teams. And then we literally rip across the street and we could get jerseys, hoodies, t-shirts, like, and not like whatever, like little, well, they were youth, but not like youth looking. Like it was game issued t-shirts and stuff. Like it was legit good stuff. So yes, I did finally get my hoodie and I love it so much. But it just showed that something as small, not as small because it was huge, makes such a big impact and people notice.
Yeah, one shelf in your store is better than no shelves.
Yeah. 100%.
Shelves.
So
English.
And then so when I look at the way that Sue Bird and Sylvia Fowles are being treated, you know, it shows that the league, you know, it's in its 26th season. It does take time, but they are at the point where I can click a button and I have access to all the games. They are awesome to watch. You walk into a place, you can get a jersey. You know, they're at that point, and now where they have places where they can actually retire jerseys. Like Sue Bird's jersey will be retired in the Seattle arena. Sylvia Fowles, same thing, right? Yeah. Like that. Those traditions are so important.
Oh, it's super impactful. Sue Bird's 13th All Star appearance. Also, like, what's the how swaggy is that 13th appearance, retirement year? Like, it's just all like,
yeah, that's so true. Didn't even think of that. I didn't even think of that. Another feel good moment. The Sky won last night.
I don't even ask anymore.
We're going to Chicago.
We should
go to Chicago.
Just bomb her down there.
Yeah, Candace Parker, starting lineup in the All Star game. No big deal. She is also going to be another one. Like, holy moly, celebrity tour. I love it. I love everything about it. Yeah,
we know.
We know. But yeah, so it's been a pretty. I don't want to say intense, but it's been a pretty like big week in regards to like the reflection of Title IX. And for me, to be honest with you, I love that a lot of people that are heavily involved with the sport in the sports world, like all these companies that are involved, it's kind of like we understand how big and pivotal it is, but now I feel like it put everybody in overdrive. Now everybody's like, it is not going to be another 50 years. Yes. It's not going to be another 50 years.
It can't be.
It can't.
And it is. It's one of those, you need that little, you do need an energy boost because it can be exhausting. And kudos to all of the women that continue to just fight the good fight. But it does. You can see that kind of revitalized energy. Just in I would just call that female or women's sports world in general. So
yeah, I totally agree. Oh, we should go to the All Star game. It's in Chicago.
When is it? I don't know. Probably when we're in Edmonton.
Probably exactly when we are in Edmonton. July 10th.
Yep.
When we're in Edmonton. We travel lots. Oh, and shout out to our girls. Our girls won.
Oh, yeah.
Champianos. Yeah. They went down to Minneapolis on a mission and came home with that gold medal. So shout out, girls. That was fantastic.
Yeah, big shout out to them. It's that's been a really fun experience to continue to watch. Just like we talked about having the opportunity to talk to Jamie and Lana, to see these young women really start to understand and focus on little improvements in their game that make a huge difference. And it was a battle. That was a fun weekend. We were begged. You and I came home.
We were begged.
Wowzers for not putting on skates. I was very tired.
The psychological warfare among coaches is wild
real.
On the other team. You're trying to eye everybody up and get it going. So yeah, no, tons of fun. Our girls played fantastic. So we got one more in Edmonton, but one thing that we did before, so I'd like to do it again, is we asked our listeners what they want to hear, who they want to hear from, and we got a ton of information. And the one thing for us too is reviews.
Yeah, continue to engage with us. You don't need to wait for us to put something out in the world asking for your feedback. If you've got thoughts, lots of you already do, text us. Message us on Instagram if you don't know our phone numbers. And yeah, rate and review the podcast. We've got some really exciting things coming up, and I think what we're going to continue to do is to bring on athletes and coaches and people involved in women's sports who are involved in a variety of things that we don't necessarily see in our common news coverage and things like that. So we've got a handful of really exciting individuals who are going to join us on the podcast in the next, few weeks. That list seems to get longer, and we just need to find time. Addie and I have some really fun things that are coming up that are a result of some of our interactions on the podcast, and I'm not going to throw that out to the world. We'll surprise you after we do those things. But yeah, the big thing is we hit 500 followers on Instagram, which doesn't sound like a lot, but for us, that was one of our goals. So thank you for those of you who are part of that. If you aren't, that's a great way to help support us. Rate, review the podcast, find us on Instagram, follow us there, engage with us in any way that you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we talked a lot about today about, the importance of Title IX and how we want to be a part of the next 50 years becoming 15.
Yeah.
And how we do that is by people engaging, talking, learning more. And we absolutely love hearing about your daughter's stories, your stories through sports. We've had so many people reaching out and telling us about experiences that they went through with sport and how they love that it's going, but they get to pass that down to their daughter, and how anything and everything. We absolutely love it. So thank you so much. This was a fun one because I think there's a lot of people that know about Title IX, but don't know a lot about Title IX. So I was happy that we talked about it. I'm happy that we have people engaging, and always so grateful for everybody listening for the show. So Cowie, final words.
Final words. By the time this hits your earwaves, we are approaching the Canada Day long weekend. So the next time that you hear from us, we'll have celebrated Canada Day here in Canada, Independence Day in the US, July 4th. So hope you guys enjoyed your weekend. Like we said, find us on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok. Make sure that you leave us a rate and review. You can leave us a voicemail if you really want to. Speakpipe.com/beautysports. We'll throw it on the pod. Buddy, it is a great day to be back at the Sports Desk. I appreciate you, my friend. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you all so much, and we will see you next week.